Matt Leacock's Pandemic wasn't the first cooperative game on the market, but it quickly became the benchmark to which all other cooperative games are compared. Players work together to find cures for 4 diseases that have sprung up around the world. Everyone has a unique ability and a role to play, with a combination of powers having a very different feel. Diseases spread both gradually and suddenly, with players being able to use knowledge of past outbreaks to guess where they're needed most, whether they need to keep a disease in check, to establish research stations, or to share information to create a cure. The Pandemic system has made its way into multiple spin-off titles while also inspiring countless other designers. And that's why Pandemic has been inducted into the BoardGameGeek Hall of Fame for 2025.
This game is so important to the industry and to me personally. It completely changed the direction, the course of the industry by making co-op cool. Before Pandemic came along, you had a few games, a couple of standouts to be sure, but nothing that had really hit the zeitgeist. But the combination of thematic storytelling that was part of this and the brilliant puzzly gameplay that was all about being able to predict chaos and put you in the role not of soldiers or orc slayers. We're not trying to throw a ring into Mount Doom. We're not trying to colonize alien planets. We are just men and women, regular people, scientists, first responders out there doing our best to help our fellow man. This game tells an important story that is as relevant today as it was when it came out over a decade ago. And the gameplay and the story it tells continues to resonate. We've had so many variations. Doesn't matter whether you want straight Pandemic, if you want fantasy Pandemic, if you want historical Pandemic, if you want spy versus spy Pandemic. There are so many different variations on it now because the core system is so clean and pure and elegant and wonderful. Now, I said it changed the industry. I think that's undeniable. This game completely opened my eyes to the world of modern board gaming. And it wasn't too long after this that I quit my job as a video game designer, which I'd been doing for 2 decades, and wanted to devote more time to board gaming, which is now my wife's and my #1 passion. It's completely put me on a new career trajectory. It has changed my wife's and my life, and the lives of all our family too. And I have said this to designer Matt Leacock before in person, but I am going to say it to everybody in the world. Matt and Zeph Schlesinger and everybody at Z-Man, everybody who has had a hand in the development of this in all the different permutations. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. You have made my life so much better. And so I am tickled pink to be one of, I'm sure, many voices singing this game's praises as it works its way so rightfully into the Hall of Fame. It's one of the all-time greats. It's tough to beat. It's my #1 game of all time. It has given me my greatest gaming sessions of all time. Specifically Pandemic Legacy Season 1. Oh my gosh, don't even get me started on that. I love it. Pandemic.
I am a huge fan of cooperative games. Pandemic was the first one that I had played and kind of kicked off just like my wanting to learn how to design these kinds of games, especially trying to figure out like how do you win or lose, how do you scale the difficulty. And the reason I like co-op games so much is because it has helped me bring non-gamers into gaming. Because there is like a winner, but we either win as a group or we lose as a group. And there is like that competitive nature. But it's really cool because like you can help someone out without necessarily quarterbacking, but also not making them feel dumb because they don't understand like a mechanic or something. So I find that really powerful in co-ops. And it's like really motivated me to make more and more of them to try to bring more people in the industry. It really just started to push people towards, hey, maybe we have this alternative. Maybe we win together versus like, I beat you, you beat me, we have a 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th place, whatever. But yeah, so I'm a huge fan of Pandemic.
Pandemic was really spreading like a wildfire when it was first out, and that's what I think is a game that really brings something to board gaming.
I think for me, the legacy of the legacy of Pandemic as a game, to me, it's the earliest game that really kind of perfected the escalation mechanism in cooperative gaming in a very simple way. So obviously there'd been the Forbidden games before that, but I think what Pandemic did with reshuffling only the deck and putting it back on top, the way that forces the game to escalate, but also makes it fairly predictable. To be honest, for a cooperative game of that level, I don't think anyone's improved on that. We're 15 years on. And I think that's what made it such a successful game and continues to make it such a great game.
The first cooperative game I played was Pandemic. And I also learned how to play with certain people and not with certain people, potentially for the alpha playerness. And that's what it means to us.
Modern times, you know, in the 2000s, I'd say it's like this right up there with like Catan and Carcassonne and the rest has created so many board gamers.
It really has created so many board gamers, and this is one of the few games that's really hit into the mainstream. Where a lot of people, if they don't play any board games, they at least know that Pandemic exists. It's also one of the, it's not obviously not the first cooperative game, but I feel like it was one of the first like really kind of mass marketing cooperative games, and it is the game that got us into the hobby.
Yeah, so that's why it's kind of special for us. This was the first time we were playing with a family that like souped up their little bits and stuff, and so it was like super thematic and like it was just like the coolest thing I'd ever seen because I had never played like a modern board game at that point, and I was like, what's going on? This is so cool. We're saving the world. And I feel like a lot of people get that big first experience. Again, for us, our story is not unique in this, and Pandemic has just made so many board gamers that like it just has to be in this kind of pantheon of greatness forevermore. And it still, honestly, all these years later, is amazing.
That's right, and that's Pandemic.
Thank you to all of the contributors who helped make this video, and thank you for joining us in celebrating these incredible games and designers who have shaped the hobby we love. For more details and to explore even more amazing games, visit BoardGameGeek.com.